Okay. We're just going to give them just a minute to be able to come find us, and then we'll go ahead and we will start our video today. I'm glad you guys are with us. We're going to have a good time. So, okay, here we go. So we are going to do another family encounter tonight, and we are super excited about this subject because this is a subject that is super important to the Father. We are going to talk today or tonight about love and about siblings. So how many of you, raise your hand if you have brothers, if you have a brother. I have a brother too. Raise your hand if you have sisters. Do you have any sisters? Raise your hand. Come on. Yep, we love our brothers and sisters. You know, brothers and sisters are God's design. God designed that children would have a mother and a father and that they would have siblings. So this is part of his structure for the family. Now, let's just be really honest here. How many of you have a brother who has annoyed you? No, just a little bit. I can admit that. How many of you have ever felt super agitated and mad at your sisters? Yeah, I have too. Come on. I have a person in my family. Thank God they've outgrown it a little bit, but they were a pincher. So when they were super mad at their siblings, they'd walk by with a smile on their face, but they would just pinch them. And they would leave this tiny, tiny little mark on their body. It was so not good. We will not say which child that was, but she had a pinching problem when she got mad. Yeah, Ellie, when you get really agitated with your siblings, how do you normally show that?
I get really sassy.
Yeah, she comes with a smile on her face. She's my sassy girl. She has so much sass in her when she's mad. You know that she's super upset with her siblings because she's really sassy. And so, Hudson, what about you? When you get just really annoyed with your brother, you don't have a brother, with your sisters, what do you normally do?
I'm mean.
What do you do?
I'm mean.
Yeah, he's a pastor. He does pastors and pastors and pastors and pastors. Yep. What about you, Lauren? You want to share it? When you get annoyed, what do you do?
I get really mean and then I don't want to be by anyone.
Just a little bit. Yeah, you're kind of strong when you're kind of sharp, when you're upset. So we all know our triggers. We all know what we look like when we're not getting along as a family, don't we? Yep. And so I just want to say, kiddos, that for you guys that are watching, I want to share with you something that when God put you in your family, he gave you a job description. In fact, he gave you 2 job descriptions. So your dads have certain job descriptions to keep you safe and to provide for you and to remind you of who you are. And your mom has a job description. She's supposed to keep you safe too. And she's supposed to nurture your heart and teach you things about the world and about the Lord. And but you guys have job descriptions too. And what's the first thing, Ellie? What's the first thing that I've taught you that it's your job as a sister? It's to communicate what?
Belonging.
Belonging. See, kids, you don't get your sense of belonging necessarily from mom and dad. You get it from siblings. And the second thing is, let me go back. What's one of the rules in our family? That if somebody goes into your room or they steal your toy or they make you just super mad or they're just having a bad day and not being very kind, you can speak to them and say or do whatever it is that you need to do as long as what, Emma?
You communicate that they belong.
That they belong, that you cannot communicate in a way that speaks to your siblings that they do not belong, because you have a job description in this family to communicate belonging to the siblings, to your siblings. Super important. A strong core value in our home, because I believe that's the way God has set up and designed siblings. But your second job description is to grow. How many of you kids are going to grow up someday and drive a car? I hope you guys are. Yeah, sooner than later with some of you guys. How many of you guys are going to grow up and go be married and have your own kids? How many of you are going to have jobs and earn a paycheck? Well, you're not there yet. So childhood is your time to grow and to learn these different things that maybe you don't have some of those skill sets right now. But when you have siblings and you have conflict, your job is to communicate belonging, but your job is also to see like where siblings are going like this and your brother's annoying you or your sister is just agitating you, to see, oh, those are some areas where I need to grow and I need to learn how to be more like Jesus and to love people that are like my brother or that are like my sister. I tell my kids all the time, God is so smart and he knew what he did when he gave you these particular brother and a sisters, Like he knows the husband that you're going to marry someday and the wife that you're going to fall in love with. And he gave you siblings as part of your training ground, how to learn how to interact and love people that are different than you. Come on, who wants to be successful down the road when you're older? And I believe that God's design for that is to train you through your siblings. Come on, right?
Yes.
And it is a training ground, isn't it? Have we mastered this in our family? Are you just all perfect with each other all the time?
No.
Of course not at all, because it is a training ground and we have years of going after this. Let's just talk about Hudson for a minute. Can we do that? Can we talk about you, Hudson? Yeah, come on. He's the only boy in our family. And so it just looks different sometimes for Hudson. I remember when he was about 2 and the twins were about 3, and I bought this huge, do you remember this? The huge big bin of Beanie Babies. I think we had like 40 or 50 of them, and we dumped them out, and the kids were just playing, and the girls were playing like really sweet and really nice, and lining up all the Beanie Babies, and Hudson comes in like a bomb, and he just wipes them all away and is just pouncing all over them, and the girls got super upset. And I realized that when they were at a really early age, boys and girls just play different. They just play different. And Hudson wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just being a boy and playing how boys play. But it was super important for you girls to learn how to respond to him when he's playing different, right? And we've recently had to really go after this as a family and really trusting God that he knew what he was doing when he wired Hudson the way that he did to bless you and to increase your understanding of how to interact and play and relate to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you have with being with a bunch of girls, right? So come on, it's our training ground. So you have 2 job descriptions. One is to create and to communicate belonging, and the second thing is to grow and to learn new skills. So let's just talk just for a second. This is going to be kind of fun. But kids, why don't you just share some stories or some testimonies of a time where your siblings maybe didn't make you feel like you belonged very much in the family? Like let's just talk about this just for a minute. Was there ever a time that you felt that way, Allie?
Yes. So one of my siblings would she just kept on getting mad at me, so I didn't really feel like I belonged with her unless she just didn't like me.
So let's unpack that for a minute. So you actually did something to annoy her, because sometimes little sisters do that, right?
Yes.
But she didn't deal with her heart and deal with being offended with you very well, did she? So
No.
she kind of kept that in and stuffed that. And then she was treating you not very kindly at all.
No.
And finally you came to me crying and you were really upset with her and you broke down and you said, I don't even think my sister likes me.
Mm-hmm.
But as we pulled on the rope with Emma, we found out you were the one that was doing stuff, right? So you had to ask for forgiveness. But we see how that communicated that Ellie didn't belong and how we had to clean that up, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
What about you? Have you ever had a time where you fought with your family that you didn't belong?
Yeah, a couple years ago we were at this pool, and then Emma and Ellie went off to go play like a little game. Hudson was playing by himself, and then I would go and try to play with either of them, and they kept saying no, and so that wasn't really communicating belonging.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else have a story?
I remember it was a while ago, but I came back from a friend's house and everyone was kind of just doing whatever, and it didn't really feel like they cared that I was gone or that I was out having fun. So
Yeah, raise your hand if you've been at camp or you've been at a play date or for an extended amount of time or I can't even think of where you guys have been away from the family, but anyways, where you've been away from the family and you walked back through the door and you felt like nobody cared. You just felt like nobody missed you and it was like no big deal. That's actually been something that's affected every one of you, and we had to learn, oh wow, when somebody's walked out of the family or left the family circle for a little bit of time off doing something fun, we actually have to cultivate and create that welcome home, we love you and we missed you. Yeah, we had a lot of attitudes and hurt stuff that came up because of that, because you needed to be reassured that you belonged again. I remember one time, you guys were like this story, but there was one time where Hudson, and this is my husband and this is Lauren, when they were just going back and forth, they were just fighting, and it was all the time. And I did all my parenting tools and nothing was working. And I finally said, okay, I want you guys to go back to your room. I just want you guys to have this time out and just separate so that there's no more conflict. How many of you have done that this week or done that since you guys have been home? Come on. And so as they were going back to their rooms, I heard the Lord say, No. Don't disconnect them. That's the problem. They're already disconnected. Help them learn how to reconnect. And so we walked through what that looked like, and they ended up picking a game to play and whatnot. And the next day, do you remember what you said when we went to school the next day? Do you remember that when you walked out the door?
I think so. I said, I'm gonna miss you. Like,
Exactly. She said, brother, she said, I'm going to miss you so much when I'm at school today. So here there was conflict because they were disconnected. They didn't need to be disconnected even further through discipline. They actually needed help reconnecting. I love that story. Let's talk about some tools, and let's go back and say when your brother or your sister have really offended you or hurt you or annoyed you, because it happens often, today, a couple times. What are some things that you guys do or you guys have learned to take care of your heart so that you can go back and get reconnected with your family? Like, how have you walked through forgiveness with them?
for me, it's going in my room and just being alone and kind of just processing and letting it go.
That's awesome.
Playing basketball.
Yeah, Hudson, definitely. You like to go do something physical and you like to just detach and just think and do something like hard. And then you come back and your heart's generally much better towards them, isn't it? What about you, Emma?
Well, I kind of do a few things, but I feel like I have to say I forgive you first, like just to start the process, and then I usually just kind of like ramble to myself about like what happened, and then when I'm done, I like journal about it. So.
And can you do that? Can you forgive somebody for hurting and offending you if you don't really feel it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because forgiveness is a choice. I'm making the choice to forgive you. You don't have to wait till you feel it, but you can be like, that hurt, that offended me. I'm going to choose to forgive it so that your heart stays right. Yep, that's so awesome. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's talk about some tools that our friends can use to go after this. So who wants to go first?
I will, I guess.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so these are like just two little wooden figures that have magnets on them that our mom put together. And the magnets represent each other's hearts. And so when there are two hearts that are connected, there's like that force and connection, and that represents like a sense of belonging. But when one of the hearts are feeling hurt or disconnected, there is no like magnetic pull, and therefore are disconnected.
And so we want our hearts to be drawn to each other rather than turning from each other. Yeah, absolutely. Wanna go?
Sure. Do you mind holding it?
Not at all.
Okay. So like when you're like mad at your sibling or something, like when you say the mean words, like you're not only hurting your sibling, but you're also hurting like God and Jesus. So, yeah.
So when you say it to your brother and sister and you speak really harshly, it's also like you're saying it to Jesus. Why? Why would that be saying it to Jesus too?
It's because he loves them, and that like it's his creation that you're like speaking bad about.
I used to say to you kids all the time when you guys were younger, if you have a problem with your brother or your sister, you have a problem with God, because God is the one that knit them together and gave them to you to steward him well, or to steward her well.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's good. Who else has one?
So basically you can use like string, yarn, ribbon, whatever, but you want to like have like string, what I have here, and you want to put it through everyone's belt loops in the family, and then get in a big circle. And basically, you might want to go to the bathroom before this, but like you could do it for like 30 minutes or 3 hours. But basically, if one person gets a drink, everyone has to go because they're all connected. And it just shows that like if one person does something, then everyone's affected by it. So.
Absolutely. It's such a good word picture that families are supposed to function together. So when you have one sibling in the family that's hurting or that is working through something or disconnected or isolated, it actually does affect the whole family. That the rest of the family doesn't just march on without that person. It affects the family. And that's such a good word picture or visual to connect everybody. Do you guys remember when we did that?
Yeah.
That we used something like that and we all connected together? Super fun for the first 10, 15 minutes. But after that, it's a challenge to try to move around the house, staying all connected. So hopefully joy will break out when you guys do that. But I want to share really quick too that there was a time where all four of the kids were just fighting a lot and just unpleasant words and just a lot of conflict. This was several years ago, and I had them go back to their bedroom. I had Lauren be the leader, And I said, I want you guys to make a list of how your heart is really feeling right now. And I was shocked by this list. I wish I could have found it before the video, but they were saying things like, I don't belong, nobody wants me, just really struggling with that sense of family that comes from siblings. So you guys going after a sibling connection and going after that sense of belonging and kindness and connection, it really truly does matter, and it does affect the family significantly. So let's talk about some ways that you guys have learned over the years. You certainly have not mastered this, but you're still in childhood and we still go after it because it is a core value of our house. So what are some ways that you have actively communicated you belong? You belong. So what have you done to foster that and to create that in our family?
Doing something they want to do.
You were going to share hot potato. We'll come back to that. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Helping with like chores or homework.
Like
Sorry.
so like playing card games and just like being intentional.
Or like putting cards or like notes on people's beds, or like just actively like being like, hey, you want to come do this with me?
And how many of you, let's just say if Lauren has the chores of dishes, how many of you love doing dishes? How many of you are just like, oh, I just want to do dishes so bad? Nobody. It's a huge issue in our house. Nobody likes to do dishes, right? But you've learned, wow, if my sister is responsible for dishes and I go and offer to help her, your relationship is going to explode. Your connection is going to explode. And have you learned that feels really good?
Yes.
And so it's worth it, isn't it? You've learned. I think it's part of it for mom and dad that we foster this in our homes and we go after it because no child automatically wants to go help their siblings doing dishes. Hello? No, okay, that's good. Okay, so hopefully, I don't know if you guys watched our Facebook post earlier today, but we're going after love and we're going after love languages. So I'm going to give you guys some homework if you haven't done it already, but go to the 5 Love Languages website. And I want all the children, including mom and dad, to go take the test to learn your love language. Go ahead. What's your love language?
Mine is gifts.
Quality time.
Words.
And words.
Okay. So the 2 people that have had the most amount of conflict in my home is my very strong leader, which is a good thing. It's a good thing that she's a strong leader. But it's also my son who has the love language of words of affirmation. So he has a very high value for words. He doesn't always mind what she's saying, but he cares how she says it. And when she says it in a rough, sharp way, there's conflict between the 2. So Lauren's had to grow how to be a leader in love, and they've had to really work that out. And it's been a long journey for sure. But how can you love? Come on, kiddos. How can you love your siblings if you don't know what love looks like? How can you love them if you don't know what their language is? And so part of taking this online test of the love languages is it's going to teach you that each one of your siblings has a different language of love. And what I want you to do is take the test, even for mom and dad, print it out, and just sit as a family in a family meeting and talk about it and share. And then this is part of your homework. I want you to come up with, so yours is gifts, right?
Yes.
So gifts doesn't mean just materialism and that she just likes to have all of the store brought home to her every day, although you probably would like that. But gifts simply means I'm going to communicate that I love you through an item or a tangible thing. So so part of the homework is you would make a list of maybe 5 different ways that they could love you. They don't drive, they don't have a paycheck, they don't have income coming in, so they're not going to go to the store. Can they still love you through gifts?
Yes.
You bet. So it looks like when your sisters go to their closet and they let you borrow clothes. Love. It looks like putting a little note on your bed, right? Or a piece of gum or whatever. So the rest of them have had to learn, how do you love somebody with gifts, the love language of gifts? How do we love somebody with the love language of words of affirmation? And we've really gone after this as a family. I mean, we have passionately gone after this because the Bible says, if you have everything, if you have the best job, the best house, the best friends, the best job, the best everything, if you have everything, but you do not have love, you have nothing. You have nothing. So we've gone after this really, really hard in our family. So moms, moms and dads, I want to share a really quick sidebar with you. When you see children having conflict in your homes, which you probably have seen a lot of with them being home full time now, instead of immediately disciplining, I want to challenge you in this area. I want you to see it as either that they have their heart hurt or offended with their sibling, and I want you to help them steward that. So maybe it looks like Ellie's been really sharp with one of her siblings and treated them in a way that's not kind. And instead of rushing in for discipline, maybe come to her in private and ask her, what did Emma do to hurt your heart? Or what did Emma do to make you so mad? And you're digging deeper into her heart to see what's going on and what broke connection. And then the goal with that, mom and dad, is to help her forgive the one that hurt or offended her. And when you walk in forgiveness, there's going to be connection again. You walk in unforgiveness and there's not going to be connection. So the first thing when you see that is to go after, is there a hurt or offense in your heart that you need to forgive? And then the second thing is, moms and dads, is go after the patterns that you're seeing with some of the conflict with siblings. And we do this. I mean, this is just, I feel like we do this all the time. But it's like, but we see conflict and we're like, okay, so when they were little, I'm like, okay, Hudson hasn't learned how to respect his sister's space. So I have to teach him in the time of peace how to respect that, because if he's not respecting space, there's going to be conflict. I have to teach Lauren, who's just a natural, strong leader, how to speak in love. I had to increase her capacity in leading well so that she's not constantly cutting him down. And there's just, so it's not just disciplining every time that they get into a conflict, but it's helping them to see what are these patterns and way you can grow in your skills. And I am passionate about this, that the skills that they are learning with their siblings will bless them in their marriage, in their job, with their roommates, future roommates, with college and whatever. This is their training ground. So when I see conflict, it's opportunity, not just frustration. Okay? So Lauren, why don't you just lead them really quick into an encounter and we can sign off.
Okay, so you guys should have a piece of paper and a pen handy. So for the kids, I want you guys to close your eyes and think of one of your siblings that you, just think of a sibling. And then I want you guys to ask the question, Jesus, what do you think about this person?
And then do what with it?
And then write it out, draw it out on that piece of paper, and then hand it to them. And then I also encourage you guys to stop the video and to do that to all of your family members.
Absolutely. So we're going to leave you with that. When you hear how Jesus feels about your sister or your brother, and you share that with them, something changes in your heart. And we want to see our siblings the way Jesus sees them. And so I hope that that encounter blesses you. I encourage you to stop the video and to have the children do it for each family member. Parents can do it too. But go ahead and get ask the Lord, ask Jesus to show you a picture of how he feels about each family member. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Whatever that hot potato.